In other news, there are some billionaires at the bottom of the ocean.
Well, they're not there anymore.
Correct.
Yeah. I will. One thing that I will say, I did a video about this, and some people criticized me because I was a little bit callous. I feel really bad for the 19-year-old because the 19-year-old was very clearly a victim. He didn't want to go, but apparently he went, according to his aunt,
to impress his
to
dad.
please his dad.
God, are you serious?
That's savage. And for the workers too, right? People who are just doing their day jobs, like no. But for the fucking the billionaire, what is it, owner of the company who was completely fine doing deregulation in order to make more profit. Well, I'm not going to shed a tear about that. And honestly, to all the people who are constantly fucking purity testing everyone online over this, or tone policing people online over this, it turned out way better. Like, to crush instantaneously, just to be like, whomp, like that's way better than 4 days of psychological torture under the depths of the ocean where it's 0 degrees, 12,000 feet below. No, I would, first off, I would never do that. Okay, when people were like, "What if it was your family?" I agree with Olami. My family wouldn't do this. On paper, this sounds ridiculous, terrible, and horrifying. I think that's why it was captivating. It's so scary. I'm still freaked out thinking about it.
Even my family, who I would want to do this, wouldn't do that. So just most people aren't going to be in this situation.
I couldn't get high for a few days because I was worried that I would start thinking about what if I was trapped down there for days, and I was, because it was bothering me thinking about it. Can you so I'm glad it appears that they died immediately. There was no because the thought of that has to be the worst way to die, right? If you were actually trapped in that tube for 4 days, slowly dying in your own shit. There is no worse way to die. I can't think of a worse way to die. That's pure torture. So I'm glad that I don't have to think about this when I'm high. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Although there's somebody somewhere right now who is probably stranded somewhere around the world as we speak. So it's always happening. That's one way to kind of
not underwater in a steel tube though. That's
true.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
I guess it's possible. But this is so. I was watching a video from James Cameron was on TV talking about this, but he's he's an expert in this in terms of he built his own sub. They spent 2 years in a computer model before they actually built the real model, and there's a whole industry around this that is, there's proper precautions in place. But this was the one sub where they were worried about, and they would send letters to this company. I have a quick. Well, let me play this clip. They were because he discusses here this is the one sub that they knew there was going to be likely some problems. No, that's not it. Here we go.
Any minute now.
Always takes a while.
Oh, this was the silly clip I was talking about.
This is a mature art, and many people in the community were very concerned about this sub, and a number of the top players in the deep submersible even wrote letters to the company saying that what they were doing was too experimental to carry passengers and that needed to be certified and so on. So I'm struck by the similarity of the Titanic disaster itself, where the captain was repeatedly warned about ice ahead of his ship, and yet he steamed at full speed into an ice field on a moonless night, and many people died as a result. And for a very similar tragedy where warnings went unheeded to take place at the same exact site, with all the diving that's going on all around the world, I think it's just astonishing. It's really quite surreal. And of course,
and he discussed earlier how this is the only time where someone's actually died in a situation like this. They've covered this. So that the first super deep sea dive was in the 1960s. They actually went 10,000 feet down, and that was 1960, and they survived. They were fine. So there's decades of them doing these kinds of dives with proper subs, and there have been no problems because they take all the precautions. This one was all about, from the sounds of it, trying to make money. And they took all these shortcuts. They had this old game controller as the control mechanism. Logitech, like a 20-year-old Logitech controller, just ridiculous stuff.
Well, apparently the Logitech controller wasn't such a big deal because apparently that is what some of these things use. Like apparently the military actually, like the U.S. military actually trains people on using controllers to like use drones and stuff because young people know how to use controllers really well because they play video games. The crazy thing about this is basically just like the sort of like ramshack way they put it together. The horrible sort of the idea that you would bolt them in from the outside. So even if they did survive, it wasn't an implosion.
Nightmare.
And they somehow there's like a thing where it would like I don't know, like a balloon type thing would bring them to the top. They would have no way to get out, and they could have even still suffocated at the top of the ocean. Like the whole thing. And yeah, this is like the one company that, from my understanding, from my research into this over the past few days, that like the whole industry was like sending letters to saying you're not following our stringent safety protocols that every other company in this space does. Yeah.
I mean, you brought the topic up.
The CEO, because I want to get to this shit. Don't matter, all y'all with all this care. Oh my god.
I actually barely
matter. I agree, but it's just interesting.
I actually barely sort of like tweeted about it or paid any attention to it. Like I thought the whole discourse around it was over the top on all sides. Like I honestly did not care enough to say anything about these people, nor did I care enough to defend these people. The 19-year-old story that we now know is certainly easily the most sad thing of this whole thing. Completely innocent kid, basically, went on this trip, didn't want to go, but it was Father's Day and wanted to be with his dad, who had this obsession with the Titanic. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is a tragedy that could have easily been avoided if literally this company followed the protocol of every other company in the space. And the to me, another takeaway is the communications. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the communications manager of this company, what are they called? Like Ocean, what are they called again?
OceanGate.
OceanGate. He had posted on Facebook his anger that he was emailing the U.S. government, like asking for help early on, or like after like a day 1 or 2 of this, and he wasn't hearing from them. And he like put a Facebook post up saying like, if I don't wake up tomorrow and hear from the people who should be doing their jobs, then this is on them, or something like that. But then if you watch these videos that are now coming out of the CEO and founder of this company, the guy who piloted the thing and is now dead, the dude was openly flaunting that he was only able to do the things he would do because he would skirt safety measures, and thankfully, because they were in open waters, no regulation. Like the dude was like very libertarian, would talk about how like regulation would actually stifle his innovation, and was he literally sent like when all the other deep sea explorer companies sent a letter to them saying like you're not following safety protocols that we have set as the standard as an industry. He was like, these protocols will stifle my ability to innovate in this space and hold us back. It was ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like this is the takeaway here. Once again, death caused by individuals who thought they did not need to be regulated by any institution, whether it be the industry itself, self-regulating, or more importantly, government regulation. Like this should never happen again.
The takeaway is how much fucking media attention will be paid to something because something happened to some fucking rich people. 5 fucking rich people decided to go do some voluntary shit and they had an accident. Niggas die every day, B. People die in accidents every fucking day. Water accidents, all kind of fucking people. 5 people did some wild fucking shit they paid an exorbitant amount of money to fucking do, and it is what it is. And also, as far as the boy, the 19-year-old being sad, yeah, but that's propaganda. The only reason why that story comes out and they start coming out with all repeated stories focusing on the 19-year-old is after people start saying, hey, look at all this wild, obscene amount of media attention y'all are giving to this shit because they're rich. So then they switch focus to, hold on, okay, there is something that you can justify caring about and feeling sad about. That's all it's about. And people eat it the fuck up. Move on. We don't need no these deep dives into the company and all this, la, 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 la.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree.
Coverage is if it's covered as like a tragedy, yeah, I agree with you. But I do find Binder's takeaway to be interesting here. Like if like that's.
I'm not talking specifically about like deep sea exploring. I mean, as a whole, this should be generally. This should be a takeaway on the whole anti-big government, anti, Big Brother, and like the whole libertarian thought process where regulation stifles innovation that we hear every single day. There should not be a single self-driving Tesla on the fucking road right now. Like this is exactly what I'm like. This whole thing, it all comes together in terms of we let these companies, we let these rich people, we let these people who think they are innovators and the future technologists and creating a world that we will, all this bullshit that we hear, we let them run rampant under the guise that they are too smart for us. We can never understand them. So we must let them break the rules. There shouldn't be rules for them to break. It's bullshit. These people are no smarter than anyone else. In fact, I would say that a lot of these guys are dumber than the average person based on what we've seen over and over and over again. These people need to be regulated
billionaire brain
time and time again so they cannot cause harm. I mean, just think about all the time and effort that was taken away too, looking for these 5 people who went on a tourist trip down to the Titanic that could have been used for literally anything else. Like this without a doubt cost tens of millions of dollars to throw all these countries. I was looking at the list of countries, UK, Canada, the US, sending out fighter pilots and ships and rescue, the amount of money we spent. And then we're going to hear about all this sort of bullshit about, too much money's being spent on this welfare program and this social safety net program. Bullshit.
In terms of the money that Canada was putting forward too, like just for context, there's still 27 reserves, like indigenous reserves in Canada that don't have clean drinking water. And yet we mobilize so quickly for things like this. And there was people online who I was arguing with because they were all just like, why are you making fun of this? How could you say that? These are people's families. Like one of those motherfuckers turned out to actually hunt humans. I don't know if you saw that story. Someone who was like fucking tone policing people online actually spent money to like hunt people in a forest, like with a paintball gun or something like that. And then I would respond to people like,
oh wait, you're talking about Ben Dreyfuss?
Yeah, that dude. What the fuck?
He's literally the son of Louis Dreyfus, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The dude from Richard Dreyfuss. I'm sorry, Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh,
the guy from Jaws.
Wait, is that the dude that stuck a gerbil up his ass or something?
That's
Richard Gere. That's
Richard Gere.
Yes.
Wrong Richard.
Yeah. Don't catch a stray there.
It's in the Eminem song "Fack."
Just the one last quick thing is I also was like I was trying to steer this thing to either like talk about like there was not nearly as much coverage of the migrant boat just off the coast of Greece.
I was just going to bring that up.
Right. Or if you want to talk about people dying in the US, like I think what is it like 180,000 plus each year die from poverty. But it's like we got like think of the billionaires, and then you.
I will say I get why it received media coverage, like the idea of people going down to the Titanic to explore it. I mean, we always get these weird, unique situations that have happened, like the Thai boy soccer team who got caught in that cave, that got a lot of attention. The Chilean miners who got trapped underground, that got a lot of attention. In both those cases, we're not talking about rich people. I think these sort of unique one-offs that happen every couple of years that boggle the mind because they're so unique and out of the blue and out of the ordinary. I mean, I think that's what drove a lot of the media coverage in general. But a lot of the takes on this were just ridiculous.
I agree, but it is still frustrating. Like going back to Ole's point, that was kind of my angle if you watched my video on it, that the media coverage on this was so infuriating, especially considering like the migrant boat that Lance brought up, it sunk off the coast of Greece and there were like anywhere between 750 to 800 passengers on it. And there were 104 survivors that they found. They found 78 bodies. So you're talking about a massive tragedy. And I put a little comment underneath my video asking people, how many of you even heard of this? And a lot of them said they did not. So it's just, it feels frustrating. And again, like we live in a capitalist system where sensationalist stories, they're going to get the most play, obviously. They want the most eyeballs. But it is really sad. And it just makes you like see how this idea that rich people's lives are inherently more valuable is just reinforced again and again, even if it's not explicit. Like we can be primed to think of it in this way. And I think that is really sad. But
I mean, they literally criminalize saving those migrants in certain countries.
It's so fucked up.
Like it's like people who go out on their own with their own boats to help rescue people and stuff. Like there's literally a case right now. I forgot the woman's name. She's like well known for going out there and helping migrants trying to cross via boat and helping them and saving them and things like that. And she's like up for trial and faces like decades in jail or something like that in Germany, I believe.
Yeah, it's sickening. One thing that I will say about this story that is undeniable is that the stepson of the billionaire throughout all of this, my mind was just blown. So I only knew about him going to see Blink-182 and him just basically saying, this is what my family would want. I didn't know there was so much more lore with this guy and how like 30 minutes after asking for thoughts and prayers, he's asking an OnlyFans model to sit on his face. He's getting into back and forths with Cardi B, apparently, which by the way, Cardi B's Instagram. Okay, I just have to. The one thing that stood out to me was that she had the filter of the Titan hugging her as she's talking about this serious thing. That to me was just beautiful. But like that part of the story is so fucking wild to me. That's almost more interesting than the sub story itself, where we're talking about like sensationalist angles, just because this dude is absolutely psychopathic.
Yeah. If anyone doesn't know, sorry, go ahead, David.
I was going to say, if you didn't follow this, essentially the stepson of the billionaire who was on that sub, he posted on Facebook that he was at the Blink-182 concert with a picture of him smiling in front of the merch table and said, my family would want me to be here. Like, look, it's one thing to go to the concert because what are you going to do? You can't save them. But to post it on Facebook with a smiling photo of you in front of the merch table and talk about how they want you to be there is a little... You're a sociopath. Like, how can you possibly do that?
Oh, and he was tagging Blink-182 on Twitter. Hey, it's a tough time, but I'm still here at the concert. It's like... God. Brother, you're clout farming during this. When, for all you know, your stepdad is suffocating right now. You're sitting here trying to farm clout online. Holy shit.
And that's what Cardi B said so well, because she was like, I don't get this. Yes, absolutely, you should be at home staying by the phone right now. She's like, I would rather be poor and loved than rich and whatever the fuck this is. And I like bars. Like she was so on point.
I mean, I think it's. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it seems like the age of this guy. And the fact that it's his stepdad, it seems like a situation where like his mom married when this dude was already like in his teens, if not already a young adult, if not only already a full adult, however how old he is. Doesn't seem like
But to use it to try to get Blink-182 to notice you and try to get OnlyFans models to notice you.
He's the guy Blink-182 is singing about when Tom said in All the Small Things, always, I know you'll be at my show.
And he was. It was a prophecy. The prophecy has been fulfilled.
Oh, my God.
Watching, waiting, commiserating.
I forget the rest of that line. Watching, waiting.
I made this joke.
Commiserating. Say it ain't so. Okay. I will not
go.
I made the joke on Twitter that when he was at the concert, the line, "Where are you?" hit extra hard. If he actually did care about his dad, Well, you're
by the
going
way,
to say
he's a massive
something,
creep.
Yeah, that's. I mean, nothing about this guy is noteworthy. It was like a sideshow, internet sideshow, meme type thing for people to spend time on. But yeah, this guy's a weirdo. He's
banned from EDM festivals. Excision's banned him for like terrorism and like trying to threaten women and stalk them and say he's gonna put them in danger and stuff like that. He's
I didn't know about all this. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, he's a massive creep.
Jesus.
Yeah. Illenium even spoke out against him.
Yeah.
Just insane. He's on the radar of the biggest EDM artists, apparently.
Yeah, the dubstep lords.
Yeah, it's so crazy to me. Dubstep. Yeah, we live in a very wild world, and fail sons, it's a thing for good reason. Even though he's, that was his stepdad, still a fail son, still qualifies. Like one of the best examples of fail son.